Tonight, we're not in a bustling marketplace or a crowded city. Instead, we are standing at the edge of the known world, high on a ribbon of stone that winds its way across mountains, valleys, and deserts. The Great Wall of China. But not the restored tourist attraction you might imagine today. This is the wall as it was 2,000 years ago. A living frontier, raw and dangerous, where life is harsh, the nights are long, and the wind never truly stops. Now, settle in, dim the lights, take a slow breath, let the modern world fall away. You've just woken up on the Great Wall of China, sometime around the year 200 BCE. The first thing you notice is the cold. It's the kind of chill that seeps through layers, biting at your skin no matter how tightly you wrap your blanket. You're lying on a rough woven mat inside a stone guard tower. The floor beneath you is hard-packed earth, uneven in places where frost has crept in. A clay brazier burns in the corner, its coals glowing red, sending up a faint heat that does little to fight the icy air. The smell is a mix of smoke, iron, and old sweat. The scent of soldiers who have lived too many nights in close quarters. You sit up slowly, your joints stiff from sleeping on such a surface. Your breath escapes in a pale cloud, drifting up into the dimness of the ceiling before vanishing. The room around you is small, built for function, not comfort. Stone walls, narrow slits for windows, a wooden ladder leading up to the roof. A few other men stir in the shadows, wrapped in their cloaks, muttering groggy words as they prepare for the day's watch. A soldier tosses you a bowl of millet porridge. It's thin, more water than grain, but warm. Steam rises from it, carrying a faint nutty smell. You sip carefully. The taste is plain, almost bitter, but it fills your stomach, pushing back the hollow ache of hunger. This is food for survival, not for pleasure. When you step outside the tower, the world opens around you. And what a world it is. Before you stretches the wall itself, a massive structure of stone and tamped earth, wide enough for a small army to march along its spine. It snakes over ridges and dips, vanishing into the distance, a grey line against the pale sky. To the south, the land rolls gently, dotted with villages, smoke rising lazily from hearths where farmers begin their day. To the north, everything changes. Open grasslands stretch endlessly, broken only by the occasional dark shape of hills. That horizon feels different, exposed, unsettling. You understand now why the wall was built. The wind rushes across the battlements, carrying with it a dry, sharp edge that makes your eyes water. The stone beneath your sandals feels cold, as though it's been holding night inside itself. You hear the creak of wooden gates opening below as patrols change shifts, the clang of iron spearheads, the low murmur of soldiers trading news. You're handed a long spear. Its wooden shaft is worn smooth from years of use, the metal tip darkened and slightly bent from countless sharpenings. The soldier who gives it to you smiles faintly. His face is weathered, his beard crusted with frost. "Don't lean on it," he says. "The wind will catch you." You nod, gripping it tightly, and follow the group to the top of the wall. From this height, the world feels both vast and fragile. The silence of the northern plains is deceptive. Out there, unseen beyond the grasslands, are raiders, horsemen, enemies who can strike quickly and vanish again. Every soldier here knows that stillness can turn to violence in the blink of an eye. That is why you're here. That is why this wall stretches farther than your eyes can follow. You walk slowly along the battlements. Each step echoes softly, stone against sandal. The soldiers around you keep their eyes fixed outward. Some squint against the brightness of the rising sun. Others simply stare, their faces unreadable, as though they've been doing this for so long that the horizon has become part of them. Time stretches on. Hours pass in a rhythm that feels eternal. The wall teaches you patience, wind in your ears, stone under your feet, the faint cry of a hawk circling high above. Occasionally a rider passes below along the inside road, a messenger carrying orders or reports between towers. You hear the faint thud of hooves, the jingle of harness, then the sound fades back into silence. At midday, a simple meal is passed around. Hard bread, dried meat, and a flask of watered wine. You chew slowly, jaw aching against the toughness of the food, but again it fills you. Survival, not satisfaction. You lean against the battlement, staring north, and for a moment you think you see movement. Just a ripple, a flicker far away in the grasses. You blink, but the horizon is still again. A soldier notices your reaction and chuckles. The wind plays tricks, he mutters. Or the spirits. That word hangs heavier than you expect. Spirits. Every soldier here has stories of men who fell for the wall and whose ghosts still wander at night, calling out in the wind. Of the thousands who died building these stones, buried beneath the foundation, their souls trapped forever within the wall itself. As you breathe, the wind gusts hard enough to make you sway. And for an instant, it almost does sound like voices. The hours pass. The sun tilts downward, casting long shadows across the wall. The air grows colder again, sharper, as if night is rushing to meet you. Torches are lit, flames flickering against the stone. Smoke drifts upward, caught and torn apart by the wind. The soldiers tighten their cloaks. The jokes fade. Night watch begins. You take your position near the fire basin, a massive iron bowl set on a wooden frame. If riders are spotted, the order will come, light it, and send smoke signals racing down the line. One tower to the next, faster than any horse, faster than fear itself. The responsibility presses against you. You glance into the basin, its dry wood and oil ready to burn. The thought that you could summon an army with a single spark both comforts and frightens you. The night deepens. The stars appear, brilliant and uncountable, sharp against the black sky. The moon rises, pale and cold, washing the wall in silver. You hear the wolves again, distant but clear. Their howls carry across the plains, echoing against the stone. The soldiers shift uneasily. One whispers a prayer to his ancestors. Another spits into the dirt. You lean on the battlement, staring out. The horizon is endless, dark, empty, or perhaps not empty at all. Every shifting shadow, every ripple of grass feels alive with possibility. You tighten your grip on the spear, feeling the wood warm beneath your hand. Your breath comes slow and steady, each exhale clouding in the moonlight. Time stretches again. Minutes become hours. The wall does this. It consumes time, turning it into something heavy and eternal. Your eyes grow tired, your body heavy, but you cannot leave your post. Not yet. Not while the horizon waits. As the wind moans through the stones, you feel it again. That strange sense of voices hidden in the air. Perhaps it's just the sound of the night. Perhaps it's something more. You close your eyes briefly, listening. And for a moment, you could almost swear the wall itself is breathing. The night has only just begun. The brazier near you flickers with a low orange glow, casting restless shadows across the stone battlements. You stand wrapped in your cloak, the spear still in your hand, your breath puffing in the air like smoke signals rising and fading. Behind you, a fellow soldier shifts on the wall's edge, stamping his feet against the cold stone to keep feeling in his toes. The wind hasn't let up. It whips through the narrow tower windows and rushes along the battlements as if it has a will of its own. Sometimes it moans, sometimes it screams, sometimes it falls eerily silent. And that silence is worse than the sound. You lean over the wall, staring into the black void of the northern plains. The torchlight barely reaches beyond the stones. Past that, only the faint shimmer of starlight touches the sea of grass. The emptiness is overwhelming, but also deceiving. Out there, somewhere, men ride horses under the same moon. Nomadic tribes, raiders, the Qiongnu. They live in the vast openness, and to them, walls are cages. You wonder what they think when they see this great barrier slicing across the land. A whisper beside you breaks your thoughts. It's the bearded soldier again, his face dimly lit by the torch. His eyes are narrow, his voice low so the others won't hear. "You ever notice," he says, "that the wall feels alive at night?" You glance at him. "Alive how?" He shrugs. The stones breathe. The wind carries voices. Men who died building it. They don't rest. They're still here, listening. You don't answer. Because a part of you, the part that's been awake long enough to hear the wind speak, isn't sure he's wrong. Hours drag on. Time feels thick here. Every minute stretches like an hour. Every hour like a lifetime. Your body aches from standing. Your mind drifts dangerously towards sleep. You force your eyes open, focus on the stars. They are astonishingly bright. Unlike your modern sky, washed by light, this one is clean, sharp, infinite. You can trace entire rivers of stars flowing across the heavens. Soldiers say the gods walk among those stars, keeping watch. Perhaps they do. Around midnight, you're given a short break. Inside the tower, a soldier hands you a small clay cup of wine. It's sour, rough, and watered down, but it burns warmth into your chest. You sit by the brazier, letting the heat sting your frozen hands. The men talk in low voices, sharing rumors. One says he heard that 2 men were flogged last week for falling asleep on watch. Another swears he saw riders in the distance, not enemies, but the spirits of past generals, forever patrolling. Laughter follows, but it's nervous laughter, the kind that tries to push fear away. When you step back outside, the moon has shifted. It hangs lower now, fat and pale, lighting the stones in silver. Shadows stretch longer across the wall. The torches sputter against the relentless wind, threatening to die. You walk the battlements again, slowly, step by step, the spear tapping faintly against stone. And then you hear it. Not the wind, not wolves. Something different. A sound from the plains. Hooves. Distant, muffled, but steady. Your body goes rigid. The soldier beside you freezes too. You both stare into the dark. For a moment there's nothing. Just grass rippling like waves under moonlight. Then, there it is again. Hooves. Faint, but real. Your heart quickens, hands grip spears tighter. Someone whispers, "Riders." The brazier at your side suddenly feels heavy with responsibility. If the order comes, you'll have to light it. One spark, and the signal will race tower to tower, summoning soldiers for miles. The sound grows. Hooves drumming against frozen earth. Shadows flicker. Your breath catches. And then, silence. The noise vanishes, leaving only the wind. The planes are still again. You wait, every muscle tense, ears straining, but nothing comes. Minutes pass. The commander, an older man with deep lines carved into his face, exhales and mutters, "The planes like to test us. Sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not. Either way, you never let your guard down." He glances at you. Remember that. The men return to their posts. But your heart continues to pound. That emptiness out there suddenly feels even more dangerous. Because if you can't trust your ears, what can you trust? The night stretches onward. You keep walking the wall, listening, waiting. The sky turns colder, the stars sharper, the moon lower. Sleep tugs at you like a weight. Every breath feels heavier. Your eyes blur. But the wall doesn't sleep, and neither can you. The watch resumes as if nothing happened, but the silence feels different now. Denser, watchful, like cloth pulled tight across a doorway. The brazier's coals dim and flare with each gust. You shift your weight from one foot to the other. Knees stiff. Fingers numb inside rough-woven mitts. The spear has imprinted a shallow groove into your palm, a reminder that your body has been here longer than your mind can comfortably count. Clouds begin to gather over the plains. At first they look like smudges of charcoal dragged lightly across the sky. Then they thicken, swallowing stars. The moon slips behind them and the world loses its silver edges. The wind changes from a steady blade to something uneven, arriving in fits and shudders, carrying with it a dry taste, soil. Far out on the grasslands, a pale wall lifts into the dark, rising as if the earth itself were exhaling. Dust, someone says behind you, voice flat. A dust storm, moving with the patience of mountains and the speed of fear. Orders slide along the stone like low thunder. Shut the shutters. Wrap cloth around your mouth. Cover the fire basin. Save the kindling. Two men wrestle a stiff oxhide over the beacon bowl and weight it with stones. The commander leads you down the battlement steps into the lee of the tower, where the wind hits less savagely. Cloth masks appear from cloak folds. You tie one clumsily over your nose and mouth. It smells of smoke and oil. The storm arrives without ceremony. 1 second wind and silence. The next, a hiss of sand as fine as ground bone rushing past your ears. It scrapes at exposed skin. Stings eyes even screwed nearly shut. Dust finds seams, buttons, thoughts. It turns the air into something you can feel with your teeth. You crouch with your back to the wall, the cloak pulled tight across your shoulders, the spear laid across your knees like a sleeping dog. The man to your left, the bearded one, pats your arm once, a wordless reminder that you are more than a rock on a wall. Then he faces the wind again and lets the storm have him. Minutes, then hours. Time is a rope pulled through your hands, leaving burns. The world shrinks to what the cloth lets you breathe, and what the stone lets you lean against. Somewhere above, a shutter bangs, is caught, bangs again. From the tower comes the soft rattle of dice in a wooden bowl. The patient occupation of men who have learned that nights are longer when you fight them. A young soldier hums an old tune, a loop of 4 notes that never quite resolves. You think of the hands that tamped this wall into being. Baskets up, baskets down, earth wetted and pounded until it forgot it had ever been loose. You picture the tampers raising and falling like 100 metronomes, the rhythm of forced labor, the drumbeat of punishment. You try to picture the faces, but the dust has taken them. Even in your mind, they wear masks. The storm thins the way an old man's breath thins after a fit of coughing, soft and uncertain. The hiss becomes a whisper. Then the whisper becomes nothing. The edges of the world return. The clink of iron, the scrape of a sandal, the cough of a sleeping man waking. The commander stands, peels the cloth from his face, and shakes dust from his hair. He doesn't waste words. "Check the flanks," he says, and men move, pairs melting into the dim, their footfalls a soft conversation with stone. You take the southern run with the bearded soldier. The torches are guttering. You relight two with a brand from your brazier, raise them until the flames catch, set them back into iron mouths. The wall stretches ahead, a patient animal backlit by a reappearing moon. In the shallow hollows between crenels, dust has gathered like sleepy cats. You brush it away with your boot, feeling suddenly protective, as if these simple troughs were something that could choke. Halfway to the next tower, you both freeze. Not because of sound, because of shape. A smudge moves where the plane meets the slope, then another, then three more, low and deliberate, like thoughts you don't want to have. You lift the spear by reflex. He puts a hand on the shaft, steadying it. "Wait," he murmurs. "Everything that moves isn't a man." Your eyes adjust, learning the new moon silver after dusk dark. The smudges resolve into a drift of antelope, their bodies angled against the wind, heads down, moving with the stubborn grace of creatures that have seen 1,000 storms. They pass beneath, hooves soundless on softened ground. One lifts its face, ears twitching. In that slit of a moment, you share breath with a wild thing, and then it moves on, and the wall is only a line between two kinds of life again. Back at the tower, the air smells the way air often smells after weather, cleaner than moments deserve to be. Cloths are shaken out, masks untied. A pot appears, hot water steeped with ginger and something bitter. Not tea, just warmth with intention. You wrap your hands around the clay cup and let the heat travel into your wrists, your forearms, your chest. A boy with a downy mustache brings a basket of flat cakes, hard as decisions. You soften one against the steam, tear it with your teeth, chew until it remembers it was grain once. The commander circles with quiet questions. What was seen? How many? What tracks? Men answer with numbers and gestures, their voices low. The storm has pulled noise out of them, left only careful words. When it's your turn, you say, "Antelope, 5, maybe 6. He nods like a man nods at rain on a dry day. Thanks without expecting more. You take the next watch on the roof. The ladder rungs bite your feet through thin soles. The roof is a waist-high box of stone with a lip that keeps men and fire from leaving without consent. From here, the line of towers is more obvious, each a small, stubborn star in the night, a thought repeated at measured intervals. You could almost believe the wall is a sentence written across the hills, in a language that has only one verb: endure. Beside you rests the fire basin, an iron mouth with bundles of dry brush nested like ribs, jars of oil stoppered carefully, and a roll of reed that will flare quick and dirty. A square of oxide hangs on the wall to throw across the ignition, to force the smoke to climb, to make it seen by a sleepy neighbor. You touch none of it. You look. You memorize. You let your hands learn the distances without moving. The commander has said it a dozen times. When the time comes, you won't be thinking. Make sure your body already knows. The bearded soldier joins you, a crossbow slung low. He lays it across the parapet and checks the trigger with a tenderness men usually reserve for sleeping children. The metal assembly clicks the same way every time, a standard promise. He offers it to you. It's heavier than you expect. You see to bolt, feel the string's stubbornness, watch your knuckles go pale as you draw. He nods. Better to know the weight now. He tells you how a signal runs. Fire to smoke, smoke to sight, sight to fire, like a thought traveling through nerves. He doesn't talk about codes, not numbers of enemies or types of riders. That belongs to other wars and later wars. Here the rule is simpler. Light means come. The hours between storm and dawn are the peculiar hours when the world most often forgets you are in it. You listen to the galaxies pour their cold into the plains. You count your breaths because they obey you when almost nothing else does. Once, a fox glides along the base of the wall and disappears like a rumor. Twice, a star pulls a thread of light across the sky and then lets it go. Somewhere down the line, a man laughs in a way that isn't humor. Somewhere else, a short horn call says, "I am still here," and nothing more. Fatigue arrives like a tide, not a wave. It takes your ankles first. Your stance grows wider without asking you, knees softening as if the wall itself were gently persuading you to sit. You refuse. It climbs to your hips. Your spine begins to consult gravity, proposes compromises. You refuse again. It reaches your eyelids last. That's where it always wins. The commander knows this, which is why he appears when he does. One finger tapping the parapet in rhythm, one eye on the horizon. He doesn't tell you to wake up. He tells the stone to wake you. Walk, he says, and you walk. From crenel to crenel, counting them like prayer beads you don't know the words for. You walk until your knees feel like someone else's. You walk until your breath is a small, warm animal on your lip. You walk until the black of the east grows thin at the bottom, then gray, then something that might one day be blue. Before light, the air turns cruel. The last pocket of night empties its cold into your cloak. Fingers you thought recovered lose their names again. The bearded soldier grins without joy and says the same thing men on cold walls have said to each other, for as long as walls and cold have been introduced. Almost comes like a kindness withheld until it can teach you something. The horizon lifts a fraction. The first thread of birdsong risks itself. The black becomes a charcoal drawing of hills, lines simple and true. And then, without drama, the sun touches the farthest edge of the world, and the world remembers color. Smoke rises from the south where villages nurse morning fires. It moves straight up first, then leans toward you as the day decides on its wind. A pair of riders appears on the interior track, their horse's breath visible, their cloaks a red-brown darker than soil. They dismount below, hand their reins to a boy, climb the stairs two at a time with the energy of men who slept under a roof and away from stories. Bamboo slips trade hands. The commander reads, his mouth silent, his eyes counting. He passes one to the bearded soldier, who scans it and snorts once. The news is mixed the way news usually is. Supply bundles delayed 2 days by a swollen ford. A small garrison to the west reassigned. A request for 8 men to help repair a collapsed section where last year's frost chewed the wall, and this year's thaw finished the meal. This is how empires speak to their fingers, in narrow handwriting and borrowed men. The sun clears the ridge. The wall warms one skin layer at a time. The brazier gutters, then is coaxed into a cooking fire. Mill it again, this time thicker, with a pinch of salt worth more than conversation. Someone has pickled greens. He shares without ceremony. You hold the bowl in both hands and breathe it like weather. When you swallow, you can feel it land. Daylight reveals what night was kind enough to hide. Dust in your eyebrows, the pale crust of salt where sweat dried on your cloak. Tiny cuts on your knuckles from stone you never saw. You wash with a ladle and a basin until your face remembers skin and not mask. The water is so cold your breath changes shape. Work begins. Watch is only half a wall's labor. The other half is keeping the thing that keeps you. You carry baskets of earth up from a pit where yesterday's storm kindly delivered new material. You wet it, salt it with gravel, tamp it with a wooden rammer until your shoulders argue with your back, and your back argues with the day. The sound of a dozen tampers is not music, but it is honest. Thump, lift, thump, lift, like a heart that doesn't have the luxury of stopping. A mason with a scar like a river across his cheek shows you how to set facing stones along the windward edge, how to seat each one so it listens to the stones beside it. He speaks little. When he does, it's to the stones. There, he says to one. You don't want to be here? He scrapes a little earth, sprinkles water, sets it again. Now you do. He looks up only once to grin. Be kind to walls. They remember. The commander arrives without seeming to cross the intervening space. He follows your gaze. 1 second. 2. He nods at the bearded soldier who lifts a horn and shapes a single note that says, "Look," to every tower within hearing. Shapes travel, flames lean, men lean with them. "Hold," the commander says, and the word is softer than you expect. It has edges, though. The smudges pause. One separates from the others and drifts forward, then stops, then drifts back. Testing. Counting. The wall has taught men to do this. The wall has taught men who ride to do it too. "Hold," the commander says again, and though your hands want to move, to oil, to read, to spark, you keep them where they are. The smudges shiver, then fold themselves back into the dark, as if the plane has breathed in and kept them. A long minute, 2 short ones. The horn on the next tower whispers denial. The commander's exhale is almost a prayer. "Not tonight," he says. "Not to you. Perhaps to the wall. Still, the ritual must be finished." A small fire in the basin, coaxed from wick to coal, and then killed with the oxhide so the smoke rises straight and black. A warning sent only to the closest neighbor. A question mark more than an alarm. On the next tower, a flame answers and dies. On the next, nothing. The line relaxes, knot by knot. When the brazier is covered again and the oil is stoppered and the reed is rolled tight, the commander looks at you as if remembering that night also teaches. "Learn the difference between fear and the thing that deserves it," he says. "Both move the same way at first. Wind moves through the merlons like breath through teeth." The bearded soldier settles his back against stone and slides down until he is a folded man. Spear upright, eyes open, mind somewhere that knows this place and isn't afraid of it. He speaks without looking at you. "There's a story," he says. "They say the wall was born when the earth grew tired of being stepped on and lifted its back to rest. We only added shape." He chuckles once. "Another says the wall is a dragon asleep, and we are fleas. I like the first better. The earth should rest sometimes. You stay awake because you must, and because you can. and because the wall is easier to understand when you meet it on its own hours. The stars wheel slowly. The cold needs you rather than bites. You listen to the men you know by footfall now. The boy who drags his left boot a little. The mason who sets his heel down too hard. The commander who is a rumor when he walks. You listen to the plain, which is not empty, only far. At some point, time stops insisting on itself. There is only the next breath and the way your body orders them like goods on a shelf. You are tired, yes, but it is the honest kind. The kind you can sleep off when the watch ends and the sun returns, and the porridge boils, and a man you barely know puts an extra spoon of grain into your bowl because you didn't light the fire when your hands wanted to. And when your eyes close for one heartbeat too long, and the cold climbs your wrist to tap your knuckles and remind you of the spear, you open them, and the eastern black has that grey again, thin as silk. The birds wake before you do. The wall warms by a finger's width. Someone down the line calls once, a sound more of relief than duty. You don't know if you will wake tomorrow still on this wall or in your other life, where stone is an idea and wind is a noise behind windows. But you do know this. The wall is not one thing. It is stones and earth and men and orders and fears that behave. It is a promise spoken in a language hands understand. It is the line between hunger and harvest, between what you can endure and what you choose to. Dawn comes like the slow opening of an old door, hinges careful not to wake a child. On the inside road, smoke braids itself into sky. On the plain, antelope stitch their quiet line from shadow to grass. Your breath loses its cloud. Your hands remember blood. You lean your weight into the parapet and thank the stone without words for allowing you to lean. Shift, the commander sees, and smiles his first smile in hours. It is small and sufficient. Men climb down, men climb up. Names are spoken and spoken back. You give the spear to the next pair of hands, and feel almost light without it. Inside the tower, the brazier knocks heat back into you. You sit on the woven mat that knows your shape now. The bearded soldier presses his shoulder against yours. A fraction. The smallest possible admission that you share the same night. He closes his eyes, mouth crooked, and is asleep in the time it takes a cold to settle. You lie back, feel the hard earth through all your layers, and think, all at once, without effort, of nothing at all. Outside, the wall breathes. Inside, you do. The two rhythms are not the same, but they agree on most things. You sleep.